guys here. This is such a good crowd. I hope you don't cook too bad back there. It's starting to feel like my old house. You know, we never had air conditioning. Everybody's like, how do you not sweat? I'm like, man, I lived on the second story in a house without air conditioning growing up. It was 90 degrees when I went to bed. I got trained, and which came in very useful in Iraq and Afghanistan. Because I'll tell you what, it's not cool over there. And so I think what I'd like to do is just tell you a little bit about myself while I'm running, a little bit of my background, talk about the campaign for a quick second, give you an update there. Then, of course, beg you to volunteer, and then we'll do a little bit of question and answer. If that works for everybody? Does that sound like a good plan? Everybody good with that? Okay. And then I'll beg you to volunteer again, and then we can all high five and go have a Friday night dinner. And so the first thing everybody wants to know is why you're running, right? And I think that's a really reasonable question, and it's real simple for me. And I'm running because, frankly, I think that we need to fundamentally change who has power in this country. Yeah. And I really when I say that, what I mean is that I don't think in this country, if you work hard and you put your head down, you should have to live paycheck to paycheck or one disaster from bankruptcy. And it breaks my heart that that's how so many people live in this state and all around the country. And I think that the people in Congress and the people who represent us, I don't think most of them understand that that's how folks live. I don't think most of them grew up that way, and I think that if they did, they've been investing in the stock market, doing insider trading, and gotten to a place where they don't care anymore. And so for me, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, I know exactly what that's like. Like as a young man, that's how I lived. Like if I needed my car fixed, an old Ford LTD 1984, it was me, a set of Walmart tools and a Haynes manual, right? Or that thing wasn't gonna move. And when I was growing up, that's how we grew up, right? Like my parents, their classic Missouri story. They got married at 19 and 22. They had 4 kids. They're Catholic. And before you knew it, I remember going to the grocery store with my parents and watching my mom write the check on the 25th, 26th, 27th of the month, and begging the manager down at Lee's Market in Jeff City not to. Somebody know that one? Yeah, the Rackers. Begging Mr. Rackers not to cash it till the end of the month. And you know what? Mr. Rackers would do that because people in that neighborhood took care of each other. And I really, really figured that out when my littlest sister was born. She had to have a heart surgery. And does anybody here know what happens when you live in paycheck to paycheck? Yeah. And disaster strikes? Right, that's it. Yeah. I mean, whether it's a broken down car, our mechanic, Winston, I don't know if you know Winston, down in Jeff City, he would fix our car for free during that time. You know, whether it's a broken down car, it's a job loss or temporary layoff, or in our case, a medical emergency, like when you're on the edge like that, that's it. It really is. And when I look at that time, and this is both sad and hopeful to me, we didn't make it because the institutions were there for us. We really didn't. It's not because there was a safety net or anything like that. It's because the people in that neighborhood who had no more money than we did, they passed the plate down at my mom's prayer group so she could buy the things she needed. I remember sitting in our living room, you all know about this one, and watching more tuna casserole roll through the front door than we could ever eat. I remember praying to God, dear God, let there be lasagna tonight, please. So tired of tuna casserole. But that's how people know how to take care of each other, right? Y'all been a part of that. And the thing that really grinds me up is it's the exact opposite of what the people in charge have been doing. It really is. The people who've been put in to take care of our state, they've been doing the exact opposite. They take money from the wrong people and they make decision after decision that strips our communities for parts for their own political power and for the power of the people who are funding their campaigns. And I just, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of look at all the industries that they've shipped overseas and watched go overseas, right? Monsanto sold to Germany, gone. Anheuser-Busch, straight to InBev, Belgium, 1,400 jobs immediately cut. What else? Scottrade, Hardee's, Charter, all shipped out. I mean, you see them over and over again. Wireco up here in St. Joe. There's stuff, you all can list it in your neighborhood or the town you grew up in. You go across southeast Missouri, it's the same. Place after place lost. Let's talk about Smithfield, right? Biggest pork producer in the state. Missouri used to have the most pork farms of any state in the entire country. And it kept all these towns across northern Missouri afloat. And then a monopolist company, Premium Standard Farms, if you remember that one, then purchased by Smithfield, ran them all out of business. They violated the law, Packers and Stockyards Act, Sherman Antitrust Act. They violated the law. Everybody looked the other way. They let it happen. And then when Smithfield wanted to cash out on destroying a generation of hog farmers, they bought up our state legislature so they could sell out to a Chinese company. And now the profit from our land, which is very wealthy across northern Missouri, not just getting sucked out of the state, but out of the entire country. And I mean, you want to talk about what else? I mean, hospitals, all these hospitals getting shut down, not because they're not profitable, but because they're not profitable enough for the private equity vultures who came in and bought them up, squeeze our nurses out every single day, make them work more hours, absolutely suffer, and it's an American tragedy. It really is an American tragedy. And so, I don't know, I was in the Marine Corps for 13 years, and I'll get to that in a minute, but I was working at a nonprofit that fought anti-monopoly power. One of the things we did was we teamed up. I don't know if we got any union folks in here, but bravo on you if you are. Let's get that here. We teamed up with the IUE-CWA union to investigate General Electric, because there's this big company called General Electric, you may have heard of, that takes billions of your tax dollars every single year. Billions of them. And they do that because supposedly to keep jobs here in America. Turns out they actually do that, and then they take the money and then they ship the jobs overseas. And so we investigated that because we're like, GE keeps saying that they're shipping these jobs overseas because American labor is too expensive. Well, you want to know where we found out they shipped the renewable headquarters to?
China.
China's a good guess. France! Where they pay their workers more money, where they get better benefits, and they have like universal health care, right? They have everything we want, they shipped it there, and they did it for access to the market. They lied to us, and it really grinds me up because no one's exposing this type of stuff. And so, I did my best in my life to serve the community that took care of me. I joined the United States Marine Corps because, all right, fun aside, there's this guy who was at our church who always used to take care of us. And my parents were broke, right? We were on the edge, but my parents did what they could to give back. And so we used to volunteer at the parish soup kitchen. And so twice a month we'd go in there, and me and my sister, we were the two oldest, we got to volunteer for whatever chores we wanted to do. And so whenever it came to be chore time, we were just like, oh, we'll do the dishes. We want to do the dishes. And this guy who ran the kitchen, he never understood why we wanted to do the dishes, and finally he figured it out, because let me tell you, when you got a big family and doing the dishes at home is like scrubbing everything by hand, drying them all, putting them on the rack, all this other stuff, and you go to the parish and it's just like slamming a bunch of stuff into a machine, like that's a scam, right? Like, that ain't work, that's not even a chore. I'm like, this is crazy. So this man figured that out, and this is the beautiful way that Missourians know how to take care of each other. When he renovated his house, he took the dishwasher that he had in his house out, he put it in his big blue pickup truck, he brought it to our house, and he installed it for us. And so, I tell you what, you never forget the man that saves you, 40 minutes of hard labor every night. And so the thing about this guy is he was an officer in Vietnam, and he'd take me down to the Marine Corps League at Apache Flats, Missouri. I'd hang out with these guys who were my heroes, and when I was trying to figure out how to pay everybody back, how to honor what everybody did for me, I thought about those guys. I talked to Al, and I said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to join the United States Marine Corps. I'm going to serve my country. I'm going to serve honorably, and I'm going to make everybody back home proud of investing in me and doing this for me. And so, I went to Iraq. I led a police training team there, convoy missions, dodging IEDs, trying to bring everybody home safe. I went to Afghanistan twice. I actually learned Pashto, the language of southern Afghanistan. Went there twice. And I'll tell you what I saw. I saw our country spend $6.4 trillion. I saw our leaders say, give us your sons and daughters, and I believed it until I was there. Give us your sons and daughters. Give us your trillions of dollars. We are building something real and lasting here. And I showed up, and it was all a lie. We were not building anything real and lasting there. I worked with the Iraqi police. I sent report after report up saying, this is not what's happening. These guys can't do anything that you all are saying they can do. They whitewashed it all, and then what happened? They got run over by 1,000 dudes in pickup trucks who called themselves ISIS, right? And then in Afghanistan, again, same thing. We'd been there for 13 years on my last deployment there. 13 years, and my job, after 13 years, was to make sure that our partner force, by the way, I was with Special Operations Task Force. We were working with the fanciest Afghan military, the Afghan commandos. It was still my job to make sure they got their ammunition and their equipment and everything they needed for the fighting season. If we didn't have that figured out by 13 years, it wasn't going to happen. I tell you what, every time we left a town, Taliban took it over within 2 weeks. I remember one guy being like, we left this whole damn country, they take it over in 2 weeks. 8 years later, whoa,
Oh, yeah.
didn't even take 2 weeks, 11 days, 11 days, man. And so all that money, all that life, and then I come back home to Jeff City, Missouri, to my neighborhood, the one I had signed up to serve, and I see the first house I ever lived in, bulldozed down, it's now an empty lot. The house I joined the Marine Corps out of, it's got boards on and windows, it's got graffiti on it, corner stores boarded up. That grocery store, where they used to let my mom float a check, Lee's Market is gone. Now you got a Walmart on that side of town. Anybody here think the manager at Walmart's gonna let you float a check? No, you know what you're getting instead? You're getting a payday loan at 620% interest because some jerk, some private equity jerk up at Wall Street came into our state, lobbied our legislature to change the law so that usury could be legal. And I can tell you right now, if we had to rely on that all those years, we would have gone bankrupt way more than one time. It's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. And so, I was fuming about it. I started to work. I did my last tour at the Pentagon. I worked for the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. I did arms control negotiations with NATO and Russia. Anybody got questions on that? I can talk about that all day later. That's a pretty hot topic these days. Yeah. And I tell you, you could see this coming a mile away. If anyone wants, I can talk about it later if you got a question. But I started to look at the way that our politics was being bought off. I started to look at the way that things were going. I looked at the way that defense contractors were sucking money out of the Midwest, frankly, these big corporations were, and really stripping our communities for parts. And I said, I'm done with it. Like, I'm tired of the Josh Hawleys, the Eric Greitens, the Donald Trumps, being able to roll in here with a truckload of lies because people are dissatisfied, and they got a right to be dissatisfied. But what we got to do is we got to stand for something different. We have to be better in so many ways to win, right? And so what I wanted to do, and I'm about to break some hearts in here, so please excuse me. It broke my heart anyway. I was like, I'm gonna run. I'm gonna go in there. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna run a campaign the right way. So I kind of talked to some of the establishment folks, not like politicians, but people who run campaigns in the Democratic side. I was like, here's what I want to do. I see what's wrong with Missouri. We got to run a real campaign where we don't take money from corporate PACs. We don't take money from federal lobbyists, no pharmaceutical executives. How many times Democrats run on lowering the price of prescription drugs and it doesn't happen because they own stock or they've been bought off, right? That's Democrats and Republicans being bought off. I'm not singling Democrats out, but I think that's what happened with Kirsten Sinema right now. That's why we don't have negotiated drug prices. And so we can't, yes, in Manchin, and I was like, we cannot take money from these people, and I want to run a campaign like that. And they said, well,
You're crazy.
we love your background, but good luck with that, right? And so, it's too important to me. It's too important because we used to have a lot of Democrats in this state. We stand for what we need to stand for. We're going to take care of people, but we got to win back trust. We got to do it. It's the only way. And so we decided to run our campaign our own way. We hired a bunch of Missourians. We got Caleb back there, my campaign manager from South St. Louis County. I think David's way back there from Springfield. I don't know who else we got. We're there from all over the state. We made sure we hired 14 out of 18 of the staff as Missourians. It's important to us to invest in the next generation of folks here in this state so that we can continue this success. And we decided to raise money our own way and not break any of the self-made rules we made. And everybody said that was impossible. Well, we raised $3.5 million as of the last quarter, right? And that's more than any Republican in the race has raised. Because people just want something to believe in, right? They want something different. And we've taken the polling gap from being behind 20 points on Eric Greitens at the beginning to being behind just 0.9% in a recent Republican poll. And that's before all his child abuse allegations and God knows what else is came out, right? That's before this character, John Wood, the country club Republicans, decided they were going to do their little thing with an independent. Like we have a real path to victory here. We are closer, we're the next closest Democrat, 9 points behind the guy, right? Like, this is about our message. It's about doing what we have to do to make sure we can win in this state, stand for something different, and really be able to represent people. And that includes, I would say, some people want to come in here, people oftentimes mention how they've seen me on MSNBC, which is pretty cool, right? So we've done that like 20 times, but that's not it. Like, I've been on national Fox News 3 times in the last couple of months. They keep having me back. We have to talk. And I won't say anything different right here than I would say there. Same message everywhere we go. Same talking points. It's the same stuff. because it's a core value system that every Missourian believes in and that we need to have and that we will win on. And so, I just did Joplin Conservative Talk Radio this morning. I've done Pete Mundo a bunch. Y'all probably know who that is over here. Mark Reardon on the other side of the state. Like, this is the type of thing we have to do. We have to be brave. We have to get out there. We have to tell people who we are. And when we do that and we stand for something, we're going to win. And it's going to be incredible. And this is the part where I ask for your help because I can't do it alone, right? Like, I never done anything alone. Our family didn't survive alone when I was a kid. They talk about the American dream being like pick yourself up by your bootstraps, right? My American dream was my neighbors coming in and saving our family when we didn't have a chance, and that was the only thing that could have saved it. My American dream was when my dad told me to study hard in high school, and I did, and I got into Yale University off Dunklin Street in Jefferson City and didn't have the money to go. It was a Pell grant from the federal government, which they give to people who have no money, and it was scholarships from folks around town that let me go. That's my American dream, and our American dream is we actually win this thing, but I need us to all come together to get out there, to make phone calls, to knock doors. We got all the volunteers, all the people on my team here. They will sign you up. Is anybody motivated to win this one? Come on, hands up. Are you going to volunteer? Come on, keep your hands up, guys. We can do this thing. We really can. So I'm asking you to sign up today and volunteer. It's how we're going to win it. Grassroots, get out there. It's going to be a beautiful thing. I'm going to stop talking now because I've been doing it for a little while, and I'd love to hear what questions y'all have. Wait, no, stop. First of all, so this isn't a standard thing, but I think this is sad. Like, we've all seen what happened to Roe versus Wade, right? So this is an attack against the people in my own neighborhood, right? This is an attack against women. I went to Iraq and Afghanistan. I've seen what it's like to live in a country where women have no rights. I've seen what it's like to be in a country where there's a two-tiered society, where if you have money, you have resources, you have access, you get all the opportunity and rights you want in the world. Well, here in America, they told me I was going over there to fight for freedom. We're seeing where the attack on freedom is, right? It's right here. It's right here, and this is a great example of it because you know who's going to suffer? It's not going to be the country club Republicans who are putting this into place, right? They are still going to fly their daughters, they're going to fly their wives, they're going to fly their mistresses out of state to get abortions just like they've always done. The people who aren't going to get it are the people in my old neighborhood who no longer have the resources, and that's a type of two-tiered system that we do not deserve. That's un-American, and that's just absolutely treacherous. So I wanted to answer that. I know somebody's going to ask about it. I wanted to say it before we got there because it's critical. It's important to me. We need to we need to get rid of the filibuster and codify Roe versus Wade and just put those rights into place. So now I'll do questions.